Good. Okay, let's call the meeting of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for today, May 8th, to order. Eugene, if you could help us by calling the roll.
Chris Clark.
Here.
Lee Anderson. Here. Kevin Brown. Aaron Frank. Deborah Foltz. Brian Goge. Rachel Inman. Here. Jamie Jackson. Here. Jim Lynch.
Here.
Brian Ogle.
Here.
Jacob Paswick.
Here.
Greg Pennington. Max Steinbaum. Matthew Lehane.
Here.
Sure.
Looks like we have Aaron Frank on.
Yes, we do.
4 out of 5 jurisdictions, right?
So,
Out of 10 entities represented. Sir?
4, yes.
Yeah.
No, Caroline. So now looking for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Motion to approve.
A second.
All right, those in favor, say aye. Opposed, chair votes aye, motion carries. Meeting minutes for March 6th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I do have one discussion item, please, before we do this.
An error.
Just because this is all I do. Mr. Chair, on the second page, under 7C, this is just a spelling thing. Last sentence there, it says desire paths. I think it's desired paths, and that's all I have. Thank you.
I'll amend my motion with that one
I
change.
actually don't think he's right.
Oh, okay, then.
Desire paths?
Yes, you know what it means? It's the paths that people trod when they
Yeah.
walk on the grass and they,
Cow pass.
it indicates the desire of the public.
Wait, isn't it desired?
Oh,
I've always spelled it.
well, then I rescind that comment.
Carrie says it's desire paths.
Wow.
Because it indicates your desire.
Okay. I rescind that.
Any further discussion?
But we will
No,
check,
sir.
we will check it online.
Come back next meeting as an agenda.
I think there is a page. The Wikipedia says desire
Never
path.
heard of that.
All right.
Anyway.
Those in
I would-
favor?
I.
Opposed, chair votes aye, motion carries. We are on to public
Desire
comment.
path.
For,
Sure where it's at.
the public, if they want to share
It's
any
but
comments
it's
or
staying the
questions
same.
with us.
Yeah, no public in the room, but they might be online. Is anybody from the public online? And wishes to make a comment?
No?
Good.
We'll close public comment and move on to discussion action items. First thing tonight is FXB goes to transit strategic plan. It's Jamie Jackson.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to provide a high-level overview of our transit strategic plan. My name is Jamie Jackson. I'm the director of Fredericksburg Go, but I also serve on the BPAC as well. So next slide. So this will be a high-level overview of the project, which concluded in June of 2024. I will provide an overview of what we call our TSP, which is our transit strategic plan. I'll discuss the outreach and engagement we performed, provide highlights about what we heard from the public, discuss the document and its purpose, give us a sample of plan improvements, and conclude with the recommendations and considerations of the effort. Next slide. So our transit strategic plan is a 10-year plan that provides a strategic blueprint that outlines changes that improve transit services. So this plan is required by the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we utilize it to gain access and gain future funding for transit in the region. It's a planning document, so it provides funding forecasts for the future, which complement and support the recommendations that are within the document. But this is like any other planning document, it's for recommendations. So it's not considered a binding document, whether by project or time period. So the things in there aren't binding. Given the flexibility, we can make updates to the plan as we go along. We're required to provide updates to DRPT, which is the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, annually, and also have a midpoint update, which is at the 5-year mark. And I've got some just notes that talk about operator shortages, growth in the region. Those are some of the reasons why this document is not non-binding. Next slide. 3 primary inputs into developing recommendations. Includes service. How is the current service that Fredericksburg Go is doing against service standards? Market demand, which includes how is service levels being aligned with the demand? Where are the people who need the transit service the most? Where do they live? Where do they work, et cetera? And feedback from the public and stakeholders. So we discussed this project with riders, non-riders, operators, and stakeholders. Next slide. We had two main rounds of public engagement and outreach. The first round occurred in the fall of 2022. We received 325 responses where we collected feedback from customers on the current conditions of Fredericksburg Go and what they prioritize for improvements. We had bus stop chats, we had pop-up events, and we had an open house at what we call Central, which is our main bus hub. We also hosted a virtual public meeting where we received quite a bit of engagement and responses. And finally, we held a workshop with our stakeholders, which included those who represented groups that utilize our services. So not only did we reach out to the public, but we reached out to those who represented those who are riders, because sometimes you aren't able to get as much feedback from the public without doing what we did on the next slide, which is our last round of public hearing, which was more productive in my mind than the previous one, which was conducted during the winter of 2023 to 2024. So we met with our stakeholders in the fall where we introduced our early concepts for improvements and recommendations. Following that meeting, we worked to conduct a series of events, both with our transit operator staff and our riders. We held a series of pop-up events, but one of the main things that we did was we did bus ride-alongs, which allowed us to talk exactly to riders while they were riding the bus. One is to capture the audience, because where you're gonna go when we're trying to give you a survey when you're riding the bus. But also, people didn't feel like they had to stop their day to answer a bunch of questions from us. In total, we received, we held 17 rider-focused events between December and January, including the bus ride-alongs, which I mentioned on every existing route that we had in service. And in total, we received over 500 comments on our draft recommendations. Next slide. Our final round of engagement, which I said we had two public outreach events. This is more of an engagement session, was us circling back with our stakeholders where we provided an overview of our transit strategic plan document. We had a very focused and intentional work sessions with each of our 3 jurisdictions, some of which are here today, regarding the final recommendations and the cost of implementing particular transit service and strategies around delivering that service. After information from our stakeholders and jurisdictions, we made the final draft document of the TSP available for public review and comment. And during that time, we collected additional comments online and incorporated that information into our final document. Next slide. So here's a sample of the types of comments we received. Overall, people were very receptive to our recommendations to improve frequency, add more weekend service, and update routings to both better serve areas that have transit service today and to serve new areas. For the people online, we had ideas like, I like the idea of having service to the ballpark, which we now have service to the ballpark. And they really love the idea of combining D3 and D5 to create a new route, and that will happen later on this year. Next slide. So we've also heard a lot of great feedback from our stakeholders through the entirety of the planning process. Some of the key things from the feedback is shown here. Things like frequency, hours of operation, accessibility, and awareness. And we were very excited that we've been able to take the public's feedback and include recommendations in the plan that address that feedback. For example, we heard that frequency was critical, so we worked to make frequency improvements a priority and move them up in our sequence of phased implementation. And these frequency improvements can be advanced even further if funding is available. We have included recommendations that expand hours of operation both during the week and on the weekend. We have used this plan to document the need for more accessible bus stops to line us up for future funding to conduct a more substantial study and design and engineer improvements. And we also plan to implement a new naming convention for Fredericksburg Go transit routes to include this, make the system easier to understand and navigate. So this is what you see now with the routes 10, 11, 12, 13. We've got numbered routes as opposed to F3, F5, which people don't know what that means. Next slide. Our transit strategic plan is divided into 5 chapters that you can see in front of you, so I won't read them all. You can ultimately, or which we ultimately created out into our draft strategic plan and document that turned into our final TSP document. And these chapters, as I mentioned before, are included in front of you. Next slide. Out of the transit strategic plan, there were 24 service improvement recommendations developed system-wide for all of our routes. There was a significant amount of work and undertaking to re-envision how we actually did service in the region. The service improvements are fiscally constrained and therefore funding is expected to be available in the future for the changes that we included in the 10-year planning horizon. All of the service improvements are grouped into 3 categories: short, mid, and long-term, which provide a blueprint as to how we will implement the service changes over the FY 24 through 34 planning horizon. We also did a select group of unconstrained projects, which I'll show you in a minute. So you can imagine these as a wish list of projects that we could implement, but we would also be subject to future study in order to implement, and also funding availability since they aren't in the constrained plan. Next slide. In the short term, it's important to recognize constraints of cost and operators' availability in implementing some of these ideas or these concepts. The team worked with operations staff to identify some improvements to routes that can be done using existing resources. The other priority, pending ridership increase and operator availability, is to try to get back to some pre-COVID service. So we're still operating on some modified service due to operator availability challenges that we still have today. An example of a way that a route was split was D4 was reallocated, which is in Stafford. Some of the resources from the western area to serve the further south to Embry Mill Town Center, which we don't have service today. So this is an example you can see in black, the existing service, and the green is the proposed service. So we worked with Stafford County in order to come up with a route that provided better service that met the needs of more customers and more riders. Stakeholder input supported eliminating service west of the library here. Because of low ridership, we had about 6.6 riders daily to shift service to higher demand areas, which included Embry Mill, as you see below. Next slide. I know this is very riveting stuff. It's our TSP plan. I apologize if it's not as exciting as some of our other work. But these are some examples of our mid-year plan service improvements, which span the period of about 3 to 7 years. We want to implement additional commuter service. That's the VRE service that you see in front of you. This will depend on VRE demand, which we know is increasing, and operator availability. As you know, since there's been a return to work for the feds, there is more demand for VRE service. We've had more frequent calls to provide service on Saturday throughout the system. Therefore, this is one key improvement that we're hoping to offer in the future. There are also several core routes which we would like to reduce the headway, which is the frequency of how often the bus comes, from 60 minutes to every 30 minutes. With the opening of the Kalahari Convention Center in Spotsylvania County and Water Park, we would introduce express service to that location as well. I believe that's FY 27. Finally, there's a demand for earlier service to get to work and later service to get home from work. Therefore, we'd like to be able to offer that service also. So that's before 6 a.m. and after 9 p.m. Next slide. We are also an agency that's looking towards the future. We hope to provide Sunday service, another gap that we see in the market. With short and midterm adjustments, we'll continue to monitor those improvements. And we have also monitored the implementation of recommendations and studies that we have throughout the transit strategic plan. Next slide. 3 projects were not recommended to be included in the constrained long-range plan. As I mentioned earlier, these are the projects that are outside of the constrained list, so there's no funding identified for them, which include express service to Richmond, Dahlgren, and there's also expressed interest in providing commuter service to Orange County as that area grows. Also, in our plan was to further study a potential conversion from our current state of deviated fixed route service, where we basically can run off route to provide service within 3/4 of a mile and go to what you see in standard transit systems, which is regular fixed route, and then offer paratransit service, but that's a very expensive proposition. Next slide. The draft plan also includes a number of future topics for Fredericksburg to consider and study, further including work that would include working with the jurisdictions to identify and implement access improvements to bus stops, working with VRE to consider more coordination between local transit routes and commuter trains, and looking at the considerations associated with changing the vehicles that we run. For example, shifting to zero emission buses and what that might mean for our facilities and overall operations. And we also have a sustainability study planned for 2026. So as we're looking for additional work in the future, or looking at additional work in the future, these are some of the items that came up as part of our transit strategic plan. Next slide. So even though we're a smaller system, we have a pretty large fleet that needs to be replaced. So there's approximately 80 buses slated for the replacement based on their useful life over the 10-year transit strategic plan horizon. We're also required to keep spare buses in the background just in case our fleet goes out for repair or what have you. One item that continues to come up on a regular basis is utilizing more green and or environmentally friendly buses. We will continue to evaluate that in future studies, so our fleet size and fuel type may be updated to accommodate future plans. Electric bus is a big deal, but as Lee just mentioned, what do you do when the battery goes out? She's got a 6-month lead time for a car. Just think about what it is for a transit vehicle.
And the infrastructure, the charging station is insane. Whatever.
Yeah, and for transit vehicles, they've got to be placed strategically throughout the region. So you can see that in the blue boxes, these are some of our major capital projects, improvements that are planned for FY26, FY25, excuse me, not FY26. So we're currently in the progress of planning for several of these efforts, including an HVAC system and a roof replacement, and the replacement of 8 buses are actually in progress as we speak, and the rest of the projects will probably carry over into FY26. Next slide. So it's a difficult position to be in to predict what the financial future will be, especially for transit, but it's an important part of the TSP to try to forecast what level of investment and the funding sources are going to be required in the future. Putting the recommendations in the plan are critical to be able to apply for future funding. As I mentioned before, it has to be in the plan in order for us to ask for funding. And while the plan tries to maximize the use of external funding sources, it's just as important to recognize that the local contributions that we receive make up a key portion. So our local dollars are actually matched for larger federal funds from the jurisdictions, as well as some private entity funding that we receive. Additionally, some of the current state and federal sources currently being relied on will not be available beginning in FY26, which starts in calendar year 2025. And that's the CARES Act money, which is the COVID relief money. So a lot of the burden has now shifted towards the localities to fund transit. Many in the public had expressed a desire for increased frequency, and we would love to have that as well, but we must recognize, for example, that increasing a route from 60 to 30 minutes doubles the amount of buses required on that particular route and another operator. So these are some of the fiscal constraints that we see overall in the agency as we move forward. We also had a trip grant, which basically allowed riders to ride for free. That expires in February of 2026. So then we have to decide, will riders pay for their own fare? And we'll work with the localities to make that determination, because if the rider doesn't pay, the locality does have to cough up. And that's 3 localities that would actually have to pay for that funding. Next slide. So ultimately, we adopted our transit strategic plan in June of 2024. As I mentioned before, it has a 10-year planning horizon, which is FY25 to FY34. If you want the full plan, which is probably about 240 pages, it is on our website, fredericksburg.com, and you're more than welcome to review it. But that's just a high-level overview of our TSP, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you. Anybody?
Amy, I'll be following up with you. Obviously, you probably saw my email recently on some of the questions
Yes.
on the service. Just for like head's sake though, in BPAC, when we're looking at accessibility for a bus stop, is there a recommended pedestrian shed, if you will, a reasonable distance that to that bus stop? Like how what's your expected kind of pedestrian walking distance to a site? So like a quarter mile?
Quarter mile.
Quarter mile?
A quarter mile.
Okay,
We don't expect passengers to walk more than quarters of a mile. You won't see a bus stop, or you shouldn't see more than each other.
okay.
But also that's the expected expected walk to get to a bus stop.
If you have sidewalks and lighting,
Yeah,
Under ideal,
you're gonna get that to like a third of a mile.
okay.
So it depends if there's like a infrastructure sidewalks and people are not gonna walk far.
so having that,
And then the other part of this is on the additional non-service recommendations that sounded like gonna require additional study. What is your estimated timeline on things like those individualized bus stop accessibility analyses, or if you have? I looked through this too, and I think that was one of my questions, and if you had responded on that, I'm sorry, I missed it. I have just a flurry of emails, but are there recommended new bus stops with the reroutes and things like locations and things of that nature?
so I actually, asked our planner to actually map those for you.
Oh, excellent.
So
That's
she's supposed to be doing that, so hopefully you'll get.
trying to work it into our transportation plan and pursue physical improvements if it's possible of existing stops or construction of new ones through private development. I mean, it can come in as proffer, things of that nature. So
Yeah,
trying
so
to get
she's
ahead of it.
working on that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The concrete slab underneath the bus shelter and then the sidewalk that gets you there with the little ramp for somebody who's pushing a stroller or a wheelchair, whatever. Those are the things which it's hard for the bus operator to provide. So if the county can help.
Yeah.
And Spotsy's pretty good at getting us those
Great.
things. So,
Well, I want to get better. So,
thank you.
all right, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, let me follow up on that too.
Yeah,
All right.
Just a quick question, what is, where can the public go to share feedback in between these 5-year?
So they can actually just come directly to staff. That would always be my recommendation. When we get feedback, they usually end up on our website. The City of Fredericksburg website, you can actually leave comments, but directly to staff is the best way to get your voice heard.
Thank you.
All right, that's it.
Thank you very much. Next item is Regional Transportation Alternative Project applications. Lita's gonna lead us through this, but I'm sure the localities will have some information to add.
Have information to add, do so. But I'll just go into these. Yeah, so this is the Transportation Alternatives Program. So it's a state funding program for like bike ped projects. That has a biennial allocation period. And is a federal reimbursement program. So 80% of the funding is federal, but it's an expected 20% local match. And we are just now kind of entering the next cycle. So it's pre-application period now, but by September 15th, that will be the application deadline for a lot of these projects in the region. However, they are locality projects, not FAMPO projects. So I'm just going to be telling you what each locality is submitting. Next slide, Eugene. So these are the two Spotsylvania TAP projects. One is a shared use path along Smith Station Road that's filling in a gap between two already existing segments of shared use path. And also kind of another gap here is sidewalk down by Germanna. In between Germanna, there's a sidewalk that comes down to Papillon Court, I guess. And then another project is working that connection all the way to Route 17. Yes, next slide. Stafford has 4 One is just pedestrian improvements up at Mine Road and Green Spring Drive. That's just south of Garrisonville Road. Also more pedestrian improvements at Kings Highway and Chatham Heights intersection. Just there across the Chatham Bridge in Stafford County. New sidewalk segments and pedestrian upgrades at Barrett Heights Road. And finally, at Falmouth Elementary School, some more pedestrian improvements there as well. Next slide. Fredericksburg has 2 TAP projects they'll be submitting. One is a bicycle boulevard being established on Canal Street, and the other is implementing the results of a downtown traffic engineering study, a safety study, and that will be, I think the focus of that is at Charles and William Street intersection. They're going to do a raised intersection there for pedestrian crossing, also some curb bump outs maybe, and a slave block memorial is part of that proposal. But I don't know anyway how memorials fit into bike ped necessarily, but that's
We're just moving it, so.
oh, okay.
We moved it, so we're just. That's fine.
For, okay, cool. Next slide. Yes, and then not in the FAMPO region, but in GWRC region, Caroline has actually won TAP project. This Lady Smith one is coming off, but there will be pedestrian improvements at Route 1 down, kind of by the Carmel Church area, Rogers Clark Boulevard and Jericho Road intersection there. And then after this slide, oh yeah, next step. So we'll be just presenting this list to the policy committee this month, showing them what projects the region has, and next month getting a letter of support or resolution of support from them. And there's more information here, which you should have access to online, just about the program as a whole. And the rest of these slides are more detailed, like diagrams of each project, and a little bit more detailed description as well. So I'll take any questions, and then I'm sure there are other people here have more information too. Yes.
I don't have a question, but I do observe that King George
Oh, yes.
had no projects.
They are not submitting any TAP project.
Yeah, I'm not submitting anything.
Okay. Okay.
After I gave Miss Coffee a heart attack on Monday, when she was like, you're, for, it's like, no, Kathy, I'm not giving you anything for this year. She's like, okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Jim, it's, with us not having somebody dedicated to transportation, it's difficult to get everything planned,
I understand.
and also the requirement of a match with our current board situation. I don't know if that's attainable or not.
Any other questions?
Right?
Hey, everybody. Aaron here from the Ether. Just wanted to ask, for the Canal Street Bicycle Boulevard, that's a cool project. Whether there would be an extension or connection along Princess Anne to the canal path, or just kind of where that would, I'm just curious about kind of like where that would end, and what it would tie into on the other side besides the canal trail.
I don't know if I have an image for that.
Do you have a drawing of that in the?
I think I just have the one for the downtown traffic engineering study on this slide. But I do know the idea is to connect it to Bankside Trail along Sophia Street, which doesn't exist yet, but is a planned project. And then also the Riverfront Heritage Trail.
So the Bankside Trail is just the planned project is funded.
Oh,
The connection, that was the plan project.
it's, sorry. Or what, would you clarify that it?
The connection between the Bankside Trail and this is the planned project. Bankside Trail is funded.
Connection is not funded, the trail itself is funded.
Connection.
From the Bankside Trail to the
Okay.
Canal Street project.
Yeah.
We have, I don't know whether you know this, but we have $56 million worth of shared use parks and sidewalks that are fully funded, waiting for construction. But there is some delay in getting contractors to bid and take on the projects. So but we have 56 million worth already funded for this round of small scale.
Anything else? All right, lead us finish that one, and now we'll move on to the bicycle and pedestrian count report.
Okay, so this month, I think I'm reporting on 4 or 5 different sites, actually. So we'll just get right into it. Next slide, please. Oh, but first, yeah, the Chatham Bridge update. This is only till April 23rd, but it's for the whole year so far. So coming in at just under 20,000 people walking past that counter, way at the other end of this Stafford side of the bridge too. So if you walk out from the city and go to the lookout point, you don't even pass it. Anyway, pretty cool. Next slide. Yeah, so sites surveyed. Yeah, there's 3 on this map, but I really last minute forgot that I hadn't already presented this site to you down here in the courthouse area in Spotsylvania. So there's another site there that I'll talk about, and also one way out in King George that was surveyed recently. So next slide, please. Yeah, and this is that one down in the courthouse area. So I set this up right here on Business 208, and you can see the sidewalk that actually ends right there. And this was just at the end of February into March. Total count of just under 300 people over the 2-week period. You can see the other figures there. Next slide. This is actually right at the area where the TAP project is in Stafford, Green Spring Drive and Mine Road. And look up to this line where you can see the desired line. Yeah, right there. And then there's
I get it. Speaks for itself. People have been using it. I get it.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. It's not, yeah. But yeah, this one had a good number of people. It's 133 over the 2 weeks. Our figures there. Next slide. This is in the city of Fredericksburg, just down the road from Fred Central on Route 1, where that sidewalk is constructed there and goes to like the Chipotle and then a few other Starbucks is there. The total of 500 people walking on that sidewalk, and it doesn't really go further than that kind of area. And there's like a bank
And a CVS.
and a CVS up the road, yeah. But this sidewalk does connect also to the shared use path that goes down Cowan Boulevard.
What?
Oh, well, Ian has opinions about that. You can share them if you want. Okay, next slide.
It's a shared use.
Is it?
Oh yeah. So I'm just being totally transparent with you all. This is the data I got from the counter on Route 3 in Spotsylvania. There's a Wawa kind of on the opposite side of Tuning Lane here, if you're familiar with that at all. But I set it up right here, and these were the counts I got, which looked very high to me. And so it might have been faulty installation, but I kind of can't figure out the range of where cars might have been being picked up, but there were only like 44 being picked up on some days, which also doesn't seem realistic to me. But I, didn't see these numbers until after I'd taken it down. So I'm not sure quite what was happening, or if maybe there were that many people, or maybe there was like tending to the. Anyway, happy to talk more about that with any of you, but.
Does anyone ever stand there, like, half the money?
Oh, I don't know.
Does look like there's interference of some kind, so we don't know what the interference is, but there's definitely some interference.
That's a good thought. Yeah, and just now I can't remember. There might be a sidewalk that starts on Route 3 for a segment, just beyond this when it ends. Anyway, yeah, but we don't have to dwell on that next slide. Here it is out in King George. And you can see this is where I attached it to. So this was like a 4-way crossing across Kings Highway, and just this entrance into the Citizens Center in King George, and then also across the street there is like a shopping center with a Food Lion. So this was kind of set to capture anyone that was walking along Kings Highway, but maybe coming to this intersection also to cross the street. And I got 144 people. One thing I actually thought of with this site, with how nicely the lawn was tended to, was this counter picking up that activity as well. Cause I was like, maybe this day they were just kept coming back and forth. But this was also an interesting site, just thinking about where to set this counter up, cause I know I wanted to do it along this corridor somewhere, but when there really isn't infrastructure already built in, trying to know where people will actually.
My-
Citizen.
Yeah, that's my office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
And she didn't even come in and say hi, so I'm a
That
little
was-
offended.
that was the next city in the office.
I wasn't there long, okay.
But I guess when I picked it up, I should have.
Yeah, be curious, there are a lot of people who actually will walk behind the don't walk signal, and they come that far down. But yeah, that was VDOT's, they had money at some point, so they built all these very nice landings, and there's no sidewalk to connect it to anything.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, it's at least it's done, I'm like, they gave me Termini.
Nice, yeah.
Going just really quickly, back to that Route 3 and shooting lane.
Oh, sure, would you?
So where the counter is, that would
Yes.
be counting people going across Route 3 or going across shooting lane?
I guess across Chewing Lane. It was set up on this street pole and kind of angled like. Tried to be diagonal away from either street.
So this is the only thing I'm gonna throw out there as a crazy idea. Discount tires over there. If you're waiting for your tires, maybe go to Wawa.
Oh, but then that's a
That can do it.
legitimate pedestrian.
That would be a legitimate linkage,
So how high off the ground was it?
but I don't know for sure.
Like, yay.
I-
So the counter, you probably have to look it up, but the counter does not count straight out, because it also will count, I think, right? A little lower and a little higher,
Oh,
just
sure.
on the radar, and the grass grew. So it could have counted the grass.
The grass minus.
But the grass was very high on that side,
Yeah,
so more than likely it just counted the grass. Probably would line that up with very windy days.
I was about to say, if you check the weather, you'll probably
Yes.
find each one of those tall ones with bad winds.
Yes, and just one tall one back and forth.
1,821 was the grass moving left and right with the wind blowing.
Yes,
That was a windy day. Oh,
Yeah,
I
that
see
would
what
be,
you're saying.
that'd be really high, I would say.
That'd be
Like I said, it might have been faulty installation.
we didn't count people, we counted grass.
My bad, yeah.
Can you add that to your
Just
sugar?
hire customers.
Well, I would think some may do that, I've done it.
That's actually the interesting thing is because always I'm like, where should I put this? Oh, I feel like a gas station is a hot spot, but then it's funny because it's supposed to service cars and I'm trying to capture pedestrians. Anyway,
See, the-
people are getting their
Yes,
snacks.
yes, with people doing those sorts of things, then apart from the weekend change, the weekend would be different to the week, but the weekdays would all be the similar number of people.
Well, yeah, this is why I
Which
was,
is why I think.
I was skeptical of these numbers.
Maybe we need a recount.
I immediately.
Put back
thought-
out there. I don't know if.
When
this
the grass
costs
is
even
cut.
a good-
I immediately thought of Matthew's comment, the grass was very long and I think the wind might
Yeah.
blow the grass.
I do try to be, vigilant about vegetation, but I guess usually I'm not thinking grass, I'm thinking like shrub, so. Lesson learned. Next 2 slides from me, I think, so we already talked about that one. Oh yeah, this is the, schedule for the next sites for it to be, right now it's on Lafayette Boulevard, right at Ability Place. That's the cross street that's really short there, and it's right where sidewalk ends also, and there's a very clear desire line continuing down Lafayette from where it is, and then it keeps bouncing back and forth. Actually, this Stafford location, I'm thinking of changing to Beacon Road, right where VDOT is, actually where that sidewalk ends, going up on the, if you're traveling away from Butler Road or White Oak Road, traveling down Beacon Road on the left side.
You're
I
gonna put
think
it,
we should put it at the VRE train station because then if the VRE surveys are telling us lies, the counter will tell us how many people actually got into the parking lot and out of. the
I
parking
went
lot.
and counted it by hand,
Oh, sorry.
once a year,
Yep, me too, every fall.
every fall.
Years that.
I
Well,
believe you.
Are you planning on putting it at the sidewalk or past the sidewalk on the grass?
for the Deacon Road one,
Yeah.
there is a street sign, right? I think the sidewalk is still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would just be a thought to see how many people continue up Deacon Road, if any.
Well, I assumed it, or it's, I think it's at a spot that's like, if you made it that far, you'll keep going, or do you just mean like up?
Yeah, up Deacon Road.
Okay.
Sidewalk costs $10 million to go up there, but build it one day.
This is such a, but if there's nothing trying to get money.
Wait, I'd make some money in. I was about to ask Rachel to go for a walk every day to count our points more.
Next slide. No, that's it.
I think we're done. You're done.
Woo. Yeah, questions from anyone? Thanks for the feedback throughout. I appreciate it. Truly.
If you do any of these at locations that have existing crosswalks, you should reach out to VDOT traffic engineers and see if they can get the number of pedestrian button pushes, the lights, to see how many people went across and push the buttons, or how many times they push the button.
I always push the button, even if I don't wait for the light, so that so that it counts me.
Well, I got it from VDOT for Garrison Road, and I have one that's over 100,000 for the span of 2 months, so I gotta figure out what happened. But, yeah.
I think that was the wind as well.
Are there like countywide maps available for that kind of activation?
I would like to do one.
That'd be great. Or it's almost like a heat map.
I got one for almost every intersection on Garrison Road, and every intersection on Fredericksburg. So, working on it.
Yeah, but actually, a way around that would be to not count each push, but count light changes.
Yeah.
Like you may have people come up, push the damn button, push, but the light's only gonna change once.
Yep, we can filter out based on the number of seconds between.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll probably end up doing, but our consultants.
Yeah, I think these locations aren't really locked in stone since as a committee you all never voted on them. So if you have any other sites that come up, it's pretty flexible, at least till the end of this year. And I'm already thinking about reevaluating this list with the TAP projects that have been brought up and maybe moving it to some of those. Actually, the Lafayette Boulevard location used to be a Fredericksburg, like it was a TAP project idea that then they switched for other projects, but you know, I figured it was a good spot.
Fantastic. Right. Next, Eugene's gonna show us the FAMPO website refresh. This is right.
Pretty exciting stuff.
All right, so here's what we've been working on for the last couple of months. And we were putting in efforts to change the website landing page, just because it's pretty static. A lot of those images, I don't think any of them are even taken in Fredericksburg or the United States at all. So we've been trying to improve our landing page, and from that, the rest of the website as well. So here's what the old landing page looks like, and here it is on our test website. We have changed the background image so that it actually is from Fredericksburg, and he's very proud of taking this image on his phone. We have sort of made the menu up here a little bit smaller and more compact as well, so that it's a little bit easier to find things and it's not quite so messy. A lot of the other stuff we've also put down here on the landing page, just so like if you're a member of the public, it's pretty easy to find. If you want to go to the FAQ, you don't have to scroll around to look for where it is in the menu. So today I just like to make a few comparisons of the larger changes that we've made. A lot of the pages have just changed, like the heading, like how it looks. These are the major ones. Again, the menu is a lot more compact now. We split it between top and bottom of the landing page itself. All of this information is still completely accessible in here, but for example, something like calendar and news now goes under public involvement instead of its own tab. Same with River Crossing Parkway study goes under transportation plans and studies instead of its own separate thing. The menu items are now clickable as well. Previously, if you were to hover or click over the committee's menu item, then you would just have to, I don't know, deal with the fact that it wouldn't really go anywhere. You'd have to scroll through every single committee to learn more about each of them. Now we have a larger committee overview, so you get a little brief about every single committee and you decide where to go from there. The committee pages as well. None of the information here has changed. Again, a lot of this is just the appearance of it. The biggest change is instead of having this sort of web page where you're just scrolling down, looking for where the agendas and meeting information might be, we have all of the information on a side menu right here. So as you're scrolling through it, You just click on meeting information, participation assistance, and it will take you to that section of the webpage. The public involvement page as well, all of the same information, but instead of a block of text, we have it kind of condensed down into the relevant sections. Our news page is also different. We're gonna start to more regularly update what's here with public notices and press releases, and also press mentions of whenever organization mentions FAMPO in the news. Yeah, that's sort of what's going on.
Eugene, can you click on the link to the,
Yes, I can.
there we go, because you can scroll down, for example, on the page. You'll see there's what you've seen, but there's a tab for each committee, which looks so cool because everything about that committee is there. If you just click on the big square, and you can't miss it because it's big and right there in your place.
Comment? Go back to the front, that one. I think the white type is gonna have some problems with ADA compliance. And it should be a text box behind that where you can just make it a little maybe grayer, a color that would match that and make it see-through. And that would probably fix that, where you're still seeing the picture, but that's, and I don't know if you WebA.
Prior to adding this image, yes, and then I added the image and I did not do it again.
Okay, gotcha, because everything else looked amazing. I love it. I love the beans.
We will not lose Ian's picture.
No.
Your picture, it'll still be there, even if the blind people can't see it.
How do we see its picture? No citation or anything.
We will move.
Oh, yeah,
text
exactly.
or something.
You gotta put
Put it down at the bottom.
citation in the bottom right, photo by.
Yeah,
Photo by Ian.
I just got real tired of those stupid pictures of places that might not even be in the US.
Definitely
It just
not.
made no sense.
Is that the railroad bridge?
That-
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yes.
So,
But it doesn't have a-
Eugene, do you want to talk about next steps?
Yeah, so we have
What-
presented this, we presented this to the TAC and the BPAC as well. You guys are the third committee we're presenting it to, and we're doing this so that you guys are updated on what we've been getting up to. But also so that you have the link to this on this handy dandy little agenda right here. And you guys use the website a lot, so go ahead, play around with it, see if you can find whatever you need to find and make sure that it's easy to go through, it's accessible. And email either me or comments or the general fampo@gwregion.org email. And once we get those in and implement those final changes, we're gonna present it to the policy committee and we're gonna make the official website update in late June.
We'll do a little launch,
Yeah.
talk about it on social media, invite everybody to see the website. All that. So the idea is for you to give us some feedback before then. It's like in the next 2 weeks. Just click on that, play around, tell us, hey, you'd rather like it in yellow or something. Then we can, gauge. And we're doing it, Eugene's been doing that with each committee. It's like doing a little presentation, asking for feedback, then make little tweaks, then doing it to another committee, asking for feedback, and then we'll have a big launch. I have to tell you, Eugene has done this on his own as a new staff member at FAMPO, and we've not had to hire a consultant, and it hasn't cost us 1 cent. So we've not needed to spend taxpayers' money, we've just done it in-house. So well done to you, Chief.
One thing that might be a bit of work, but instead of FAMPO in the news, maybe it could be transportation in the news. And just keep a collection of all transportation articles, whether that be Stafford County, Spotsylvania County, or the city of Fredericksburg. Either Freelance Star, Fredericksburg Free Press, Fredericksburg Advance, Potomac Local. They all usually have one or two things a week. Something about something going on in each of the
Almost like
stations.
DRPTs, red.
Yeah,
You would need to have a point at which you take them off, because it'll get too many. There'll be
Yeah.
too many eventually, so you'd have to have you only do it for 1 month, and then they get removed or something.
maybe, yeah.
Maybe just having other section.
Yeah, just an idea, like once a day, go and see any news articles today, if so, post them.
Yeah.
But just a thought.
The other question we were thinking about with these news articles, and, you know, you're part of our team, so just, we'll tell you frankly, is we're not sure how to handle news articles that are not very complimentary of us. Right? Do we post them anyway? Do we only pick the positive ones?
Still posting.
You know, it's like a judgment call. Like at what point do we regard it? What if the article's full of factual errors, right? There's a particular news outlet which I shan't name right now. Frequently their facts are just really wrong. I've had to frequently write to them and say, it wasn't a committee on that day. It wasn't the road on that corner. It was this other road, and very factually wrong.
If there's an article that has actual errors in it, factual errors, then maybe that's an opportunity to correct the errors. Or post them to correct the errors.
We do that from time to time. We write to them and say, by the way, here are the actual facts.
Yeah.
You can post the article with with your letter that you write to them.
One challenge is if you begin, if you begin posting only the articles that are, you know, complimentary or, people are gonna ask, why didn't you post this other article?
We've been,
Less than complimentary.
yeah, we've been posting articles that don't always look complimentary towards us or to individuals in the committees.
Yeah.
But I just wondered what your feedback was. Because we serve you, right? This is your,
If they're just unflattering, then go ahead and post them.
yeah.
If they're truly factually completely inaccurate, don't broadcast that.
I think that's good. I think if they just factually all wrong, we should just leave them out
Yeah.
until we've got a correction. And then if they're not always complimentary about what we're doing, then that's fine. The public or the journalists are free to say whatever they feel.
I guess my only other question in terms of like staffing and demand is how often are you scouring for any and every article that might refer to transportation projects in the region too? I mean,
There's not that many.
Do you?
well, recently there's been a,
Yeah.
It's like some app called like alert, like
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yes, and we're not, just, staff isn't scouring. They're just, you know,
What we are doing,
Notification for anything that mentions FAMPO or
Oh.
Fredericksburg area.
okay. Good to
we
know.
are doing on social media, doing what Matthew's saying. So on social media, we don't only post FAMPO related stuff. If there's a farmer's market, we post that. If it's local stuff that local people we think are interested. So we don't only post even transportation stuff on our social media, we retweet or repost other people's stuff. If you have a project in your county, we frequently post about it ourselves to encourage people to go to your website or to your event or whatever the case is. So we are doing that already. Eugene's been, you know, if VDOT publishes a note in our region, we post that, you know, that kind of thing.
The only other thing on the website that it's just because I've seen it, a lot of it tends to be overseas based websites, but I don't know, I've struggled with myself even in the development or comprehensive plan surveys. You know, you see some websites, they have ability to on the fly translate websites into different languages. They have little different language options, like I don't know what that takes.
It's a Google plugin.
Is that fairly easy? It just upper right hand corner, you can click into different languages and it auto translates the page. That may be helpful. I'm just, I don't know.
For
Just the-
Spanish, it might be helpful for our region.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure, like German and, you know.
I don't know.
A lot of other languages.
Not sure how big the populations are, but.
Yeah, we can look at what's available.
Number
And
7,
thanks to Lida too for driving out to all these different locations to keep moving the bike counters.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we had somebody regularly doing it properly and not having trouble with some things.
staff is definitely working hard. Number 7 is correspondence, but I don't see a link, so I'm thinking we're going right through that. Don't have any correspondence to read, right? Nope, okay. Staff report.
We did have one letter, and I guess we should have added it, but we have been making it on the packaging and the policy committee letter from the new secretary for transportation, the federal secretary for transportation. Sent us a letter which went to lots of other organizations about not spending federal money on any activities that are aligned to DEI stuff.
Of course.
So we got the letter officially sent to every MPO in the United States. So just letting you know, we did get the letter. We don't actually specifically define a lot of things as DEI, FAMPO, or GWRC. We are doing a lot of work in terms of reaching out to underserved communities, the disability communities, and the whatever else, right? We don't specifically use phraseology that deals with DEI. We had to remove one executive order from our annual work plan because it referred to the executive order and the new administration has retracted that executive order. So we removed that. But other than that, we don't really define it with those particular words. But we're doing some of that kind of work, especially outreach to underserved communities, which we just carry on doing. But we promoted the letter.
I would hope irregardless of what's coming out of Washington, that we would keep trying to serve underserved communities. 'Cause,
Absolutely. I don't actually care about how we define
I don't care what we call it.
underserved communities.
I don't care.
But as long as we carry on doing outreach, that's our job.
Yeah.
The Title VI portion of the Civil Rights Act still exists. It's still a piece of legislation in the US, so we're still required to comply with it. So we carry on complying with pieces of legislation that exist, that are on the books, that are required to comply with, and we haven't backed off any of that. As I said, we just had to remove a reference to the executive order. That's it. The rest of it will change.
Good. Thank you.
Right. The only other thing with Stratford on there is the next meeting will be July 10th, not the 3rd, because of the assumption is a lot of you.
Away from July 4th.
So that's the date of the next meeting, is the 10th. Is that what you said?
Yes, we'll be the second week, just like we are tonight.
Correct.
So that puts us on the member reports. Brian, you got anything?
What are you all doing?
Not this evening.
All right, Jim?
Yeah, yes. As everybody knows, I'm active on the Dog and Railroad Trail, and we keep, plowing away. Our goal, which I'll repeat for the 100th time, is for us to be part of the Virginia State Parks as an addition to Caledon State Park. We believe it will require legislative action, so we keep talking to our legislators. Our local senator, as everybody knows, lives on the trail, so has a conflict of interest. So he tells us he can't weigh in one way or the other on it. We have had some helpful discussions with Hillary Kent, who is our delegate. She's actually been on the trail and seemed enthusiastic about it at the time. She went kind of cold, but the last time I talked to her, it seemed like her level of enthusiasm is on the rise. So got our fingers crossed about her. So, but we keep trucking away. One interesting thing is that there is going to be, pretty sure, an addition of the Lake Caledon property, which is across Caledon Road from the park. That's a 450 acre parcel that it looks like all the wickets have been cleared to get that added onto Caledon. And then the trail, of course, goes through that parcel. So lots of interesting things there. We hold races on the trail. We had 2 races lately that came off very well attended. And this next weekend, if back 2 days from now, if anybody's a bike rider, we're having our twice a year community bike ride on the trail. So if you have a bike and you want to come, take a ride on the trail, it will begin at 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. We ask that everybody gets there to check in and get lined up and all that, but it's not advertised as a very, very long ride. 8 miles, 8 miles total. 4 miles out and 4 miles back. Our ride director, Kevin, is going to have a griddle there and promises hotcakes for everybody all day long. If all you can eat hotcakes after the ride, so show up, that would be great. I did have a question. I read somewhere that the routing of US Bike Route 1 is going to be changed to run along the bypass. Does anybody know anything about that? Nothing. Where did I read that?
Could you say that again?
It's the route of
Yeah.
US Bike Route 1.
You
And
said it's gonna be rerouted.
I thought I read somewhere that it's going to be rerouted down the Route 1 bypass, comes across Chatham and goes straight down. I think now US Bike Route 1 goes through town, I think. Not high on my radar screen, but I was sort of curious about why that change. Anybody know anything about that? Nothing? Okay. Or maybe I was imagining it. So anyway, the only other thing been in some good contact and discussions with the staff at the State Trails Office about the railroad trail, and they have it on their radar screen, or well aware of it. So just another link, another contact to, help us reach our goals. So I think that's about it, Mr. Chairman, from me. Thank you.
Lee, you have any?
Yeah, so the first thing I have is that on June 29th, WMATA is going to be changing every single bus route in their system. Every one of them, and they're also renaming them. So they're going from numbers to having letters in their routes, and that's June 29th. It's called the Better Bus Network Redesign, and it's all on their website. So I throw that out there, and then more.
We'll know in July if it's actually better.
Yes. So it starts on that Sunday, and we'll probably know on Monday.
Monday could be the worst.
Yeah, nobody's gonna work.
There's a post by Randy Clark, I think it was by him. But that day, there's another 2 or 3 jurisdictions in the region doing a redesign.
Well,
Other major cities doing it as well.
and this bus route goes out into Fairfax and.
I think Prince George's was doing
Up
one.
up into Maryland, so it's not just DC.
No, and like Prince George's County Transit, separate from.
Yeah.
How could possibly go wrong?
Another thing. But more
People just
importantly,
pay
this is Bike Month, and I want to give kudos to Lita, who has ridden her bike to work every day this month.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty amazing, and so I am trying personally to ride my bike at least half the days at home around my neighborhood, because it's a death sentence to go outside of my neighborhood with the bike, but at least do that, so.
My bike got stolen.
But Lita has done great, so.
Yes.
Just a quick thing for us, Spotsylvania County's kicked off our 5-year comp plan update process. We don't expect to have that comp plan adopted until late 2026. So we did get the ball rolling. Planning Commission initiated it, get a case number assigned and us going on it. I did want to let everybody know, and I guess this is a question for GWRC FAMPO. We're developing a electronic survey to be put out to the public for consumption. We've had a lot of success in the prior comp plan update as well as our small area plans with the survey. It's in development with our JS department working on a comp plan update website for an early June release. And I was just wondering, is that something that FAMPO, GWRC, I know there was a mention of kind of sharing local information out to your public, if you will. Is that something y'all would
So if
be able to do?
send stuff to Eugene,
Okay.
Eugene does a lot of stuff like that on social
Okay.
media.
Thank
So we're
you.
on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
Okay.
LinkedIn, Sky, Blue Sky, blah, blah,
Excellent.
blah.
And
So all that
Eugene, if you
stuff.
share it with us, we'll also put it out on ours.
That's great.
Please do email Eugene,
Okay.
because we love that stuff. It's because we don't create the content.
Yeah.
The content's already created. We
Yep.
just share it. It's easy.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, Jamie, anything else? Rachel?
Yeah, so like Lita mentioned, TAP and revenue sharing, the pre-app deadline is Friday, May 30th. So I've been working with the localities on those, and then, so Lita, for the city, I spoke with Jamie a little bit, but I need to confirm with Josh about how many applications the city's actually gonna do, because it might just be one. Last I heard, so I'll let you know. And then also for our pipeline studies, we have all of our surveys out, so please feel free to read those yourselves and to share them with everyone.
At our last board meeting, we awarded a contract for the Stafford Boulevard sidewalk project by $942,000. Construction should start in the next couple of months. We've also awarded a contract and are starting construction later on this month on Route 1 at Courthouse Road, which also includes improvements up near County Courthouse, including 8-foot sidewalks. So a lot of stuff going on. Not right now. We don't like construction, but there won't be any applicable disruptions. It'll all be done outside of daily traffic.
You just
Yes.
promise to send us a note, because we'll again put it on our social media that construction starts tomorrow or something.
Yep, we're going through our community engagement plan right now. And then we also have 2 surveys out. We're doing a study on Garrison Road, and we are doing a study on Warrenton Road. So please do take those surveys, and I'll send that information to you guys as well. We have a lot of people who've already taken them, so we're getting really good responses so far. I say really good responses. We're getting a really good response rate. The responses, not everyone's happy about transportation.
That's why you do this.
That's why we do the survey. Yeah,
For me.
Okay.
I'm done.
Eugene, can you just, so I took this picture today. Believe it or not, this is at the nice new lockup facilities of the city at this train station across the road. Those are 2 bicycles, or what's left of them, but just like the frame. The wheels are gone, the steering is gone, half of them are gone. And then locked to the steel frame at the bottom, which is off the picture, you can't see, there are 2 bicycle wheels chained, just the 2 wheels chained to the frame. But the wheels don't belong to those bikes. So I don't know if, bikes are being vandalized or parts are being stolen or what the heck is going on, but I just thought, as we're the bike and pedestrian committee, I'd just show you. That's what it looks like today at the bike side here, outside the Fredericksburg train station. Those are new, the facilities are new. The city put up these new things with a roof, so your bike doesn't get rained on. But I think there's vandalism happening there, and people's bikes are being damaged and stolen and whatever. Just thought
Are the cameras?
I don't know. I haven't seen cameras.
No.
I'll also say, I don't know if the vandalism's happened recently, because I feel like this
That's been like that for a while.
been there for a while.
Can you send me that photo so I can read it?
Absolutely. That structure is new, though. That was put up when we did the opening day of the train station renovation. So when the steps were opened, I forget what day that was. They went up the same day. So the structures are new, but those bike parts may have been there since the day it opened, but they are brand new. It's literally When did we open the train station? 6 months ago?
Yeah, it was in June.
Yeah, I'll ask public facilities to remove it.
All that dust collected on a seat
Oh.
there.
Actually, Jamie, what I can do is just send up my phone to your phone.
Yeah, that's right.
It just worried me that bikes are being vandalized.
Well, that's really tough, but, golly, I'm actually flabbergasted that there weren't cameras installed when they installed that. Like I'm thinking. I have been places where, temporary commuter bike storage facilities in places like this are actually, they actually construct a cage. And people with bikes register, get the code to go in there. Not everybody goes in there, get the code. I assume they would want to change the code every so often, but,
The big one, DC at Union Station, it worked really great and it was fancy. It's designed by some architect. It's really fancy looking. It looks like a spaceship. So amazing. But something happened between the operator and the owner of the thing because they needed an operator to take the $5 contributions and give you a key or that sort of thing. They locked it during COVID and it hasn't been opened
and they
since.
don't like.
So whatever was in there during COVID, it's still in there and no one's been allowed in ever since. It's this artwork. I mean, it's a beautiful, the nicest looking bike facility I've seen in years. No one's allowed in or out.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened, but it's a disaster.
geez, shoot yourself in the foot, right? 'Cause-
Yeah. It's really great. If I was biking up there, I'd use it, but
Yeah.
you can't get in. Done.
Yeah, probably the only real answer is some sort of a cage.
I think these facilities are complicated to manage.
Oh, I understand.
They're a lot easier to install, but then you start getting all these problems that are different.
Going on with that, we've kicked around a couple ideas, there's age and so forth. But is there not a national bicycle organization that would have some ideas, lessons learned, recommendations about what to do?
No.
Because obviously, the people who advocate for riding bikes, selling bikes, want that kind of
Well, they want to sell more,
To
so I
work.
guess that,
Yeah.
they would have.
work. And, if somebody wants to ride a bike, there's part of their commuting route, but they've got to have someplace to leave it that they know it's going to be there when they get back.
It's rough. My bike at home was locked up in the condo building's underground basement garage. And I had a steel, those steel U-shaped bar locks?
Yeah.
So I put it through the wheel, through the frame, through everything, right? And that steel, you don't just easily break it. They stole my bike.
Yeah.
So they must have come there with a bolt. Everything's gone, right? Even including the locks. And
Including the
they
locks.
must have come there with a bolt cutter at night, followed a car into the underground parking, broke the steel with a bolt cutter and
Yeah.
got rid of it. It's just amazing. Bikes are vandalized a lot.
Yes.
Aaron, you still online? Have anything?
Hey, yeah, just on a happier note, we had a lot of folks from the city's Pathways Committee and parents and students alike from Hugh Mercer Elementary School downtown do a really nice bike to school day. So happy to hear about others biking to work this month is pretty cool, and it was going on here as well.
Fantastic.
That's the only person online, right, Eugene?
Wait, Kevin Brown is waiting.
Yeah, and then from the King George side, we have, our board's officially put me and Lucy Tuthill onto the regional or to our rural transportation advisory
Oh,
committee.
oh,
Yeah, they did that
congratulations.
Tuesday night. So we will start that with the FY 26 with Caroline and trying to kind of take us away from the fun of TAC on the first Monday of every month. Or a little out of our league.
You're still welcome.
Oh, I know, I'm always welcome, but, yeah, that was the big thing. And I'll have an update in July for where we are on our TAP project and that sidewalk. So,
Don't know if you all know, this is the first time the GWRC itself has had a subcommittee. Never actually had a subcommittee before. There are other entities that work that have GWRC as their fiscal agent and their staffing agent and all sorts of other things. The GWRC has never had a subcommittee. So now we've created the rural tech to look at the projects in the rural areas and give a little better focus on that. First time we've ever had a committee on GWRC.
there's nothing further. Looking for a motion to adjourn to July 10th, the second week at 6 p.m. here.
I move we adjourn.
Second. Second.
Jamie second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are adjourned.
Yay.